Hey guys, welcome to the RoundTable. Here at the RoundTable, we continue the conversations that we have had from Sunday morning and how you can have practical ways to help every person take their next steps towards Jesus together.
Okay, welcome everybody to the RoundTable, episode number 38, just to get you guys caught up on what the RoundTable is. If you're joining us for the first time, whether it be listening and or watching. Now, we've told people at some point, if you're a listener of the podcast, you have to watch. There's a dynamic that happens in the room that for one time, you're going to want to watch it. And especially this time, because our guest, which we're going to introduce in a second, Nick Wilson, which nobody ever sees. Right. He's the guy behind the scenes.
The face behind the camera.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So all of a sudden, anybody that wants to know who Nick Wilson is.
That should be the title.
Yeah.
There you go.
Face behind the camera.
That's going to be
our guest.
That's
going to be something.
That's how you're going to name the podcast.
Something. Yep.
But anyway, RoundTable is an opportunity for us to get together, talk about what we've talked about on Sunday morning. But honestly, it's kind of evolved. So a long time ago, Nick and I sat down and said, you know, one of the problems is like you say, this is a problem on both ends. As a preacher who puts a lot of thought time into preaching and then nobody cares. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like they care for an hour, but then not that they don't care, but they all forget. You know, so
wait a minute. Caring and forgetting is not the same thing.
Well, I think if you care about something, you usually don't forget it.
Not necessarily.
What?
I forget people's names all the time.
Have you ever forgot your dog?
Huh?
Have you ever forgot your dog?
I don't know. Maybe. But
Have you ever forgot to feed your dog?
Yes.
Okay, so Jenny, you're abnormal.
No.
Normally people who care about things take care of the things they care about.
No, I'm disagreeing.
Huh?
I'm disagreeing. People do. People can forget about things even if they care about them.
Okay.
Whatever.
I would say it's abnormal. I would say
you're abnormal.
Huh?
You're abnormal.
Well, no, that's a for sure. That's been a given from the beginning. But anyway, so Nick, you know, trying to help through this a long time ago, started a closed Facebook group. Because the thing you're going to learn about Nick is he's been the behind the scenes guy that I've been throwing out all of my ideas to for the past however many years, and he's trying to make them work.
Yeah.
You know,
almost 7?
No, it's almost, 4, 5, 5.
I thought
7?
It was 6.
7 here, 5 on staff.
It has been a long time.
Okay.
The point just is that we tried different ways to figure out, like, how do you continue the conversation? So it was a closed group. And then we were like, well, let's do a podcast. You know, it seems like everybody's doing podcasts. And let's really focus on just two people talking about what they talked about on Sunday morning. And so that went good. And then we brought on Jenny as a guest. And Jenny has evolved into the superstar. You know, so the people that really care about the podcast care about Jenny, you know. And we're even to a place now where we get gifts.
We do.
Yeah.
Right? So like, and...
Yes, our shirts.
Yeah, our shirts. And I'm like stocked up on beef jerky.
I know. She told me that she got you beef jerky.
Beef jerky. And last night at small group, a guy that listens to the podcast brought me a whole thing of deer jerky.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so I'm like, we love your gifts.
Oh my
but these were our gifts because we've been talking about Yellowstone.
Nick had one too, but
I had
he
one
forgot.
too. Thanks, Sherry.
It was all made to wear it for this week. So mostly sweet, sometimes Beth Dutton.
Yep.
So everybody can put in their comments of whether or not, if they've been around Jenny and they watch Yellowstone, is she like Beth Dutton?
This is a hot topic right now.
She says no. The rest of us say that
yes.
there's,
For sure.
And mine is take people to the train station, which is my leadership style. So.
Oh, that's cool. Wait, why? What is that?
Leadership style.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Is like, listen, if you don't like it, we'll just take you to the train station and dump you off.
Is that what happens?
So what happens is like they have this Yellowstone brand.
Okay.
Right? So it's an actual brand. Like they brand you with a hot iron.
Oh, I'm so scared
And so
of
the
that.
point is like if you don't follow the rules or get along, it's not like they kick you out. They take you over into Wyoming, take you to the edge of the cliff, shoot you, and dump you off at the train station where no law is. And so that's how they get rid of help that they don't want. And I'm like, well, first time I watched that, I'm like, no, you got to shoot them.
But why?
Well, so they're dead. They don't want to fall down there and they climb back up.
No, but then the bullet might still be in their body and then that can be traced back to you.
Maybe.
I would
the
push
point
them.
is they go to the train station because it's in Wyoming. And you know this is actually true. So when we were out in Montana.
I did not know that.
In Wyoming,
Seems like
there's
Nick
hardly
didn't
any
either.
law enforcement. So
Really?
like the population of the people and the number of cops that are out there, it's like there's hardly any law enforcement. In fact, they said that there are areas that again, I'll mess it up. Lots of square miles that only one guy covers.
Today?
Wow.
Yeah,
this
like right
world?
now. Yeah, right now. There's like if you get stranded out somewhere or you need help, they just tell you on your ranches, deal with your own stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Because you really can't get the cops there, to be able to do
Good
it.
to know.
So anyway, the train station they go from where they're at in Montana to Wyoming and kill people and dump them over the edge. And the first time I saw that, I'm like, hey, that's a great leadership lesson right there. You can't get along with anybody.
Yeah.
Just tell them, hey, you got a choice. Either get in or go to the train station.
Yeah. You want a train
so
ticket?
it fits. Does anybody know what Nick's shirt said?
It said
Mine
the
was
same thing.
yeah. Same
The
thing.
train station too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys both have the
great,
same
great
thing.
leadership. But anyway, it's kind of evolved into this. So Jenny's brought a whole nother element to our podcast, meaning she's been really good about getting guests. And I keep getting like, when's Jenny going to ask me now?
Really?
Oh, yeah, so-
Why aren't they coming to me?
That's what I keep telling them.
I know.
No, here's been the problem.
Because I have had 2 people come to me.
Well, the problem has been I was supposed to relay the message, but typical of
Way to
my
go.
great communication stuff is
people
like
say I'm bad.
Shane Flora and Steven, my son-in-law. He's like, what do I have to do to get on the podcast?
Oh my gosh.
We're fans and we can't get on. And I'm like, listen, Jenny does it all.
Okay, who was it? Steven and who else?
Steven, my son-in-law, and
Right.
Shane Flora, which I told you about
Yes,
2
you
weeks
did.
ago.
Yeah, no, you told me last week. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay, either way, check your notes, but it's probably
Nope,
3
I
weeks
will
ago.
check my notes right
the
now.
The point just is they want to be on the podcast, and it's been cool because you've been bringing guests.
Yeah.
Nick, upped our level of productions, getting us out there. So it's been a cool evolution.
Oh, yeah, it
And
is.
some people kind of complain because they're like, well, you guys talk forever and you don't really talk that much about what happens on the Sunday morning, And I said, well, some of the evolution, and I do think this has been cool, is because we've had guests, it's been more about the guest story.
Mm-hmm.
What's God doing in their life? How's he working through their life? And then, we bring it all in there. So we always just tell people, like, if you're gonna love the RoundTable podcast, you're going to love it because you're going to see real life stories of God working through the lives of people and us talking about how Scripture intertwines with that. But mostly it's about this is what God's doing. And what I love about it too is people are getting to know people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a great opportunity to be like, in fact, it was funny. So I met Shane last week and he was listening to the podcast.
Okay.
He rolls down his window.
Oh, that was your first time you met him? And then he
No,
asked you
we're
to be
just
on?
meeting to talk.
Gotcha,
So anyways, he rolls down his window and I can hear the podcast going and he looks at it, he's like, who is Sherry?
Oh my
Because
gosh.
it's like-
You didn't
she's
know?
like, wow. No, I mean,
gosh.
no, he doesn't know her at all.
Oh my gosh. Could you
Listening to the
imagine listening to
podcast,
that?
he's like, wow, she is a personality.
Yeah, I was on
You
the
know.
phone with her last night for over an hour.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't like to be on the phone at all.
But you stayed on the phone for an hour?
Yeah, I felt like she needed me.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah,
Are you a
that's
counselor now?
I've always been a counselor.
Wow.
My life experiences.
Look at you.
Don't even need a degree.
Anyway, so that's kind of what it involved. It has evolved into, and so one of the segments that we talk about is, hey, get to know what's going on in people's life, get to know our guests. We always start with Jenny because she seems to have the most interesting life.
Absolutely.
Not
Right?
really.
Absolutely.
No, really. Like
But-
the things that you do in life, very few of us ever think about. Like the way that your brain works.
Oh, yes.
Very
That's
few
true.
people's brain. I'm not sure if that's good or bad.
It's
but
bad. It's very bad.
Very few people
Yes.
have your,
I know.
like what's happening inside of your head.
I know, and I always tell people like, you do not want to be inside my head because, and I was just thinking today because I'm like, I could not get out of the house. Like I go through this thing where I just like keep like, and I'm sitting down trying to get ready, and I'm like, why can't I leave? Like I feel stuck. Like I was working this morning, so I was on social media for like 3 hours. Okay.
Okay.
From 7:30. Okay, so it was 2.5, but whatever. From 7:30 to 10,
Okay.
and like I could not get off of it.
Meaning
Like somebody would text me and then I'd be in conversation and then a notification would pop, so I'd have to engage, and then somebody else would comment on a different thing, and then since it's like everywhere,
Yeah, you
then
just
I'm
can't leave.
everywhere.
Like you're just stuck inside.
Yeah,
of it.
cafe, champs, and then the church.
See,
and then,
you would be a perfect thing. Like you and Zuckerberg he would love
Who?
somebody like you.
Who?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Because you could put the goggles on and you could live in the world. Isn't that what it's called? The meta world?
The metaverse, yeah.
Meta something?
Oh.
See, she could put that on and live in it and never leave her house.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
That's
I could.
what I'm saying. This is what people are catering to, because it's like you could suck them in that rabbit hole. Jenny could put the goggles on.
I put a pair on my dog too, and we would just go to town.
No, your dog's in it already.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, and that the whole idea is like they create this like.
But I want him to be in the
You could
experience
have
as well.
hundreds of dogs
Oh my gosh, I could.
Yeah.
everywhere.
That is so weird.
No, is this actually out yet?
I could have a husband.
It's in development, but it's not out yet.
No, there's some churches that are actually having it.
It's not a big thing yet.
Yeah, it's not big anywhere, but
Like $10 billion.
Oh my goodness.
Here's the cool thing. So Nick, who's behind the scenes, you're going to get to know him for a second. We have special producers in here.
Yes, we
We
do.
do.
We forgot to introduce them.
Huh?
We do.
Yeah, well, introduce them, Jenny. Who's
You
with us?
introduce
Do you
them.
know their names?
Yes, I do.
I bet you don't.
Yes, I do.
Okay, who are they?
Why do you put me on the spot like this? I know stop.
It's okay.
why don't you tell me and I'll
listen,
tell you if you're
it's
I
correct?
love it.
Street,
I
and then
just
that's
knew
Jennifer's
that this
son.
is the way
No.
worked.
Wait,
I
if you
knew
give me
it.
a second
so I
to
wanted
think.
to put her on the spot because I was like, there's no way she remembers their name.
Yes, I did.
Okay, say
I'm
it.
really bad on spot. I did. I said Scott Street, and then that's Jennifer's son. But if you gave
Does
me a
he
second,
have a name?
I would think about her
Does he
talking,
have a name?
and then I would be able to remember.
Okay, what is it?
You have to give me a second.
Sorry, Jennifer's son. Well,
Jennifer's
Will you give me the
son.
first letter?
Jennifer's
First
son
letter.
was the one sharing with us about
First letter.
Metaverse.
First letter.
T.
Trevor.
there we go.
Get
There
that.
we go.
I knew it.
Yay for Jenny.
Thank you very
Yay
much.
for Jenny. So they're sharing. So two, Scott and Trevor on Nick's team, again, behind the scenes people have done a lot.
Great
in
guys.
making,
Great
Yeah.
guys.
that stuff happen. So we're glad that they're on there with us today. Anyway, you could live in that world.
Yeah.
And get trapped in it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
You
'cause
know.
everything's free, right?
I have no
Some
idea.
stuff is.
You can go shopping.
No, you can't go shopping.
What do you mean?
Not yet.
No, I mean, but you like really
You will be
shopping?
able to.
Like you can walk up and pick up a dress and look at it and actually buy it?
You can try it on.
Oh,
you
my
can't.
gosh.
That's the possibilities are endless
It's
right
going to
now.
be like real world, like Sims, but better. I used to be on Sims for like days.
Who?
Sims.
Sim who?
Now you're the sim.
I know.
Sim who?
Sim is a game.
Yeah.
They had like all kinds, like
Like
it was
the
Valentine's Day
Simpsons?
Sims. What?
No.
No, like Sims, like I don't know. It's the game. You play life with them.
Life. You play life with fake people.
Yes.
Yep.
One time, my grandpa walked in.
While you're playing a game
No.
with fake people?
No, okay, but yes, my cousin and I were sitting there, and it takes a minute to get like people connected.
Is this
to
meaning
like
like
each
you're
other.
in a like
No,
On
I
a
mean,
computer screen.
like
this was when
Isaac's Oculus
I was
thing?
10, so we didn't have those then.
Oh, okay.
But so it's on the computer, and it's just like that, except you're playing it like manually.
Okay.
On the computer with,
Okay.
and it takes some, like you have to build a relationship just like normal people do in real life. So we had finally got this couple to like each other. So then we were so excited because we made them try to have babies. That's
Okay,
a,
wait.
That's a
wait.
thing on it.
No, wait a second.
What?
So you're telling me there was this game
Yes.
that you fake make people be in relationships.
Yeah.
They have fake
It's not
sex.
fake, it's real. I mean, you don't see it. Like,
have
there's a whole
fake
bunch-
sex
No,
and
listen.
have fake babies and
Yes.
you're interested in it.
Yes. So listen, when you did do that, it was like their first time. It would be
Of
like
having sex?
Yes, it would like do a whole like thing around it, and like sparks would fly, and it'd be like this big old thing that lasted like 10 seconds. Okay,
Which is probably reality of the first time having sex.
Yeah.
It lasts about
Yeah.
10 seconds.
that's so funny.
They
But
probably built that into
that
the
was
sim.
good. That was good. But yeah, it's a whole big thing. Okay, they make it a really big deal, and then my grandpa walked in right as we
As
hit,
they're having sex?
right as we hit the command to make them have try to have a baby. And we were trying to cover the screens with our hands, and he obviously he's like, move your hands. It was mortifying.
See, this is I'll just never get that. And you loved it.
Oh, we
See,
used to
this is the
fight
thing that
over it.
Nick introduces me to, these worlds that I would never understand. Because Nick has like talked about this whole idea of what meta, whatever it's going to look like, and
That's
how it's going to be like people really do it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. Bennett, my youngest, he's in it all the time. I mean, he's into the gorilla tag game right now. So you're essentially like a gorilla and you're moving. So the gorillas, they don't have legs, so all your movements have to be in hands.
Oh
so you
my
just see him
gosh.
in the living
And
room.
he's with his little Oculus
Oh, yeah.
thing?
Can't
Yeah,
see
that's
anything.
Isaac's got an Oculus.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I saw the funniest, most whatever the heck it is. I saw a great video on TikTok the other day. This is why I don't get on TikTok, because I can be sucked into
Yeah, they're like
there
there for
too.
hours.
Yes.
Like hours.
Hours.
Trapped.
Yes, because it's so funny. I
Trapped.
am trapped.
I can't get up.
No, for real, that's
I
how it
can't
feels.
get up.
But this lady, she had those on, and she was like, I don't remember what exactly happened, but she was like yelling this way, and then somebody apparently like went and attacked her. So she ran into the wall and like fell back. It was the most.
Well, let me ask you this,
greatest
because this
thing
is going to be
ever.
off the subject, but so you guys would be into it, right? So that would
Yeah.
be like, you would do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Trevor, would you do it? Iffy.
Iffy.
Scott? No. Okay. So you guys, though, you would be in it. So
Yeah.
tell me, do you think this is going to, tell me the benefits and tell me the downfalls of this living in a virtual world in your mind? Because that's the part I'm trying to figure out. Like, what is, because I think that there's this dilemma, like Facebook, you know, and
Yep.
Instagram. So there's the good part of it because people are able to be in contact with people that they would never be able to
Right.
be in contact with. In fact, this is the tension Nick and I went back and forth with all the time because I'm like, I hate social media. And Nick's like, social media is awesome because
Yeah.
we're able to do things that we can't get done.
It's
You
the
know, and he's
future.
going to share a little bit about how what he has done through online church and social media and how you guys have now worked together to really spread our influence. Like, so it does have a good side,
Right.
you know, that it can do, but it does also have this downfall
Yep.
piece of it all. So tell me how you guys think, whether it's social media, virtual worlds, meta, whatever you call it. Tell me, what do you think are going to be the benefits, and are there going to be downfalls? Like, are there going to be
Yes.
downfalls with it?
I can think of downfalls more than like positives, only because that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But
Well, what do you think a downfall is going to be?
anything that, so like exactly for social media, it's the like you're not like social media prevents some people, like for COVID, for example, how you're not like physical contact. It like helps you to not be in physical contact with people. So like the virtual world, you're already getting that need like of contact with people. So it could be a barrier between you and like the real world.
So you think it's going to create more isolation?
Maybe.
Like an isolationism?
Yes,
like
that's
people
the word I
could-
was looking for.
You know, so people, because I think we would agree that, you know, God wired us to be in relationship, but does it mean, does it mean physical relationship? Does it mean face to face? Can you do it? Can you be in a real relationship as you're isolated in your room?
I don't know, because I guess now that I'm thinking of it more so, I guess social media would be more isolating than the meta world would, because you are physically with somebody, kind of.
No.
Yes, you are.
No.
If you have
in the
them
meta
on,
world?
yes.
You're not physically with somebody.
I mean, I think so.
I think you'll feel more
Yes.
physically
But
with
you're
somebody.
not
Than a
with
But you're
computer
not.
You're still
screen.
not.
You're
Than a
right.
computer screen.
No, I know, but you're still not with somebody
Well,
physically.
Right, but I think that could fill the needs that would like be wanted or needed to be filled. Like, you know what I mean? If somebody's lonely and they go on there, then they'll be fine for until the next day.
You do. You think that people's needs can be met via
Yes.
meta, via social
Not
media,
social media.
like the
Well,
deep needs of a person,
Not
right?
social media.
But
I
you
don't
think it could be met through this meta thing?
I think so, yeah.
Nick?
I think more relational needs will be met meta than they are now on social media.
Okay. And you don't think that there's going to be harm? I mean, there's going to be
Well,
some,
there's
but for the
always
most
bad
part,
things.
no, I know, but you're saying for the most part, you think the virtual world will have more benefits than downfalls.
As of right now, yeah, I kind of think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you think some of the greatest benefits is going to just be this idea of relationship?
It's all
or
based around, if you listen to when Mark first talked about it, like it's all based
is
around
it the real Mark
relationship.
Zuckerberg or the robot?
Funny
Right.
story. Funny. He was. if you
Isn't that a thing?
if
Right?
you
Like-
watched his story, they actually went into the meta to talk a lot about the big drop of the meta coming in, and they all had their own avatars, and there was another guy that was a robot, and he was like, "Hey, who are you?" And the guy said his name, and he's like, "I thought I was the robot."
the Mark
my
Zuckerberg.
God.
Yeah,
Mark Zuckerberg's
right.
like, "I thought I was the robot."
Yeah.
No, I think you'll be a lot more relational on the meta than you ever were on social media. I think it just takes it to a new level because you can actually walk up to somebody, like you can perceive it as walking up to somebody and talking to them just like me and you were talking now. And you'll be able to hear my voice, you'll be able to hear your voice.
Yeah.
And you can just talk and be open. And
But do you think well, I guess let's just ask the question, is physical face-to-face relationship important to people, and will this just flat out replace it? Like, I don't need it.
See, with my wife, I need it.
Right.
But like,
But the rest of
I
the
can
world,
talk. Like, I would be okay with talking with these guys.
Right.
Over the phone or over text, or that's usually how I, communicate with them for the most part is over text.
And, like,
But-
family.
and that's okay. I don't feel separate from you guys, right? We're still good, right?
Right? Are we okay? Wow.
You can't see
Maybe-
this on
maybe
screen.
not.
But Scott's going like, and Trevor's like, sure, Nick, sure, Nick. No, again, I do just think it's something to think about because I mean, I'm a very relational person. I hate the mother frickin' phone, and I hate all that stuff. Like, I would rather just like, let's just have a conversation. Can we just look at each other? Or like, I think from a business standpoint, it's easy. Like, texting is yes, no, yes, no. Like, let's just get over with. But you want to have a conversation with me? I hate talking on the phone. Can't we just get together and talk? Because I hate the phone. And I'd rather just have it. So I don't know if it's just a generational thing, if it's a personality thing, but I'm just trying to figure out if the way that God wired us is it going to matter to people? Like, is it going to be, like, can you live? I'll just give you an example. So it matters to your wife, but with nobody else. So let's just start saying you live in this world.
Okay.
Right? And you start living in this. Will it affect your relationship with your wife?
I think if I'm constantly there and not with her, then yeah, probably.
No, I'm saying like you balance it out, but like, will it be weird because you don't really have like contact with any human except for your wife?
I don't know. Maybe.
No,
Well,
again,
his
something to
kids.
think
She's-
about. What?
Well, they're probably on there.
Well, she's pretty extroverted anyway, so
Okay.
yeah, she has to. She wouldn't like it. She
No.
would be out with people.
Yeah, like
So
you're
I
not
would-
going to go on a date with her, like her on Meta and you. Meta.
That probably,
guys.
probably wouldn't work.
That would be amazing.
Hey, honey, it's
Hey.
date night.
Yeah.
Go ahead
Go
and put your goggles
We can
on.
go
me up,
wherever we
Meta.
want.
Wherever you want, baby.
That'd
It's
be
going to
so
be
much
perfect.
fun, though.
No.
Yes, it would.
Why?
I don't know. Can you
Why?
eat while doing it? That'd be so weird. Will they see you eat when you're doing it?
I don't
Can
know.
you hold up like a Twinkie
Maybe.
or something? And
A Twinkie.
Maybe.
that was the first thing that came to my mind. I don't know.
No, I'm again.
It's still in the beginning stages. I mean, it's still infant stages.
No, I
Yeah.
know, but nobody invests, like Trevor said, nobody invests however many $1 billion unless
Right.
they think that they can trap Jenny in that world.
Right.
Why else would they do it?
Yeah.
Right? They know that there is a generation of people. So why? So Mark Zuckerberg or Facebook, what's the why behind it? Why would somebody invest that kind of money, to be able to do it? What are they trying to accomplish?
He said build relationships. We'll see if that's really what he wants to, but he said you'll be able to engage.
Trevor's gone.
But that's what he said about Facebook too, didn't he?
Well, and I think in the beginning it was.
Yeah. I mean, it still kind of is.
But then you
What
have
is it?
Facebook.
Is what?
I mean, you are building relationships.
Yeah. And yeah.
like I think that's the good part of Facebook.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, people like that don't just invest money for the good of other people.
That's a lot of
Right.
money.
I mean, there's a plan behind all of that, and again, we'll just see how it plays out. Because I think people today could say, if you look generationally at a generation who grew up on social media, there's some gaps. Right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
there are some gaps with those people, or there's some gaps with, people who grew up behind a screen. Right? Like there are some relational gaps that are missing with people. So I guess we'll just have to see, how that plays out and how it, moves forward and what that looks like.
Right.
Anyway, kind of off the subject, but Jenny, you have the most interesting life of all of us.
Not really.
So what are you doing? What's going on in your life?
Well, last night I went to my niece's basketball game. It was the first one of the season. And I have never been so into a game than I was last night. Like, I was getting mad at some little kids because they were being so vicious. Like, the other team, they were just like, they would not.
How old is this?
Like third grade. No, fourth grade. Well, it's fourth and fifth graders because it's.
Yeah, and so
The school.
like they're playing defense and they got a little too close or something.
Yes, they wouldn't let him breathe. And I even
That's
yelled
the
at one
idea of
point.
suffocating defense.
The girl, no, but it was bad because it was like other teammates because they're young, they don't really know what they're doing. So other team, like 2 against 1, essentially.
Yeah, that's called trapping and suffocating defense.
It's that. It's awful. But they kept getting the whistle blown and everything else because it was so bad.
Yeah,
But
and then you were yelling. Did you
yes,
yell?
Are you a yeller?
Oh my gosh.
Are you
yeah.
really,
Does that
Beth?
surprise you? I was
Beth?
a cheerleader.
Beth Dutton.
Yes.
Yeah, like
no.
you're passionate.
Oh, I get it.
Protecting.
Yeah,
protecting
that's
her
right.
family.
She's a
No.
protector.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I am
You're
a
gonna
protector.
I'm gonna come down
I
there.
even said
I'm
that
gonna
last night.
smack you.
Yeah, I about
See?
went down in the
It's
middle
coming
of the
out.
court.
I know.
Sounds like Beth.
Every time I go to like a game or something, or I've been watching Cheer, which is it's on Netflix. Do you know about it because of your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
It is so good. Anyways, they came out with season 2, and I binged it. But when they did their competition, like I wanted to be out there so bad. But then yet last night, I wanted to go down to that court and show them up.
Really?
Even
You
though
wanted to
they're,
go
like,
out there
young.
and like against a
Yes.
third grader and show them how it's
Yes,
done.
I did last night.
Yeah.
And I felt bad about it. But
And you want to do the same thing when it comes to cheerleading?
oh yeah.
You want to go out there?
Well,
Because
You were a
season-
through the
cheerleader.
TV
Listen,
screen.
don't
yeah.
you remember? Were you
Yeah.
here on season 1 when she got up and did her little cheerleading move
Yes.
and
he
about
was,
pulled a
Was I here?
hamstring?
What do you mean was he here? He
No,
was
that
doing
was-
that.
I
No,
think Isaac
was
Oh,
producing
that's right,
that.
I don't think I was
forgot.
here.
So Jenny
forgot.
got up and did her little like
I did.
cheerleading thing.
I don't remember what I did.
Hey, you know
though.
what's funny? So I was with Shane and them in Breckenridge when we were skiing.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about like they're like sore and can't let go. And I'm like, dude, I
From
feel
skiing?
like it
I
is
guess
a
that's
little
true.
bit
You're
hard.
using yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm like, I don't feel that bad. And I always joke, I'm like, I feel like I'm 25. Listen, I feel the same as I'm 25. And so I told him, I'm like, I can still do a front handspring.
Did you do
And
it?
they're like, you cannot do. I said, I guarantee you, right now I could do a front handspring.
Where? What kind of floor were you on?
No, I'm saying anywhere I can
No,
do a
but did
front
you do
handspring.
it?
No, I didn't do it. But I'm
Oh.
telling you right now, I could do a front
Okay,
handspring.
well, we would like to see that.
Oh, like racing you, the same thing.
We did race.
No, we
Yes,
did
we
it.
did.
Did it get taped?
Yes,
did
it
we
did.
Race?
I have it.
Did
yeah,
you?
because he
Who
sent
won?
it to
Did
me.
you ever show?
You
Who
did.
do you think won? The guy that's 25
know.
years old.
my
The
gosh,
25-year-old
what?
guy.
Yeah, the 25-year-old guy.
Whatever you won, yeah.
I know. Just
Okay.
like I can do a front handspring.
Okay, cool.
No, it is cool. That's not cool. Come on. Give the old man. You can't picture me doing a front handspring.
No, I cannot.
That's all I'm trying to say.
That would
is you
just be a
can't.
sight to see. You should walk in, like when you first start, when you go up on Sunday morning, you should just like an introduction, just do a front handspring.
The front thing, it's like not real graceful though. So when I land, there's like a big boom.
That would be a really big boom. Too.
That's
You
what I'm
should do
saying.
it.
Like when I
You have the
make it
mic
over
on.
and I
Oh
hit my feet
gosh.
on the ground, it's like a boom.
Well, then that's not a correct front handspring. If you are like not having a good dismount or whatever, if you're not landing, are you
a
landing?
dismount?
I
No,
meant
it's not.
landing. I'm thinking gymnastics now.
No, I mean it's probably not the most. I mean, look at me. Do I look like a graceful
No,
person?
you don't.
No, I know. So
Not
when
at
I do
all.
it and the landing hits, it's like kaboom. Yeah.
Okay.
So when it gets warm, we'll go out in the grass and do it.
Yeah, because you don't want to do it on a second
Or
floor.
I could do it on the
Do it on the turf.
Yeah. But
Oh, yeah,
either
there you
way,
go.
yeah, we'll have to repeat Jenny's little.
Yeah, don't try
cheerleading
to drag
stuff.
this out till summer. Huh? I said don't try to drag it
Anyway,
out.
anything else going on in your life?
Not that. Nope. I
Nothing
don't think
exciting.
So. No,
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, so Nick, so introduce yourself. Give us a little bit who you are behind the scenes, like what you're doing, and then we'll kind of elaborate how God's using you. So for the people who don't know you,
Yeah. So,
Dun,
been married for 18 years. Have a daughter who is 18, a 15-year-old son, and 12-year-old son. So they keep us busy. Athletics and yelling at them about their grades and all of that fun stuff.
they still have Power School.
Yeah, I love it.
You love Power School.
What is Power School?
The thing where you look and see if your kids are flunking.
Oh, that is so.
Well, I mean, that's how
nice.
we used it. Like Jeremy, you have
Oh,
3
that's how we
Fs.
use it. Yep.
You probably shouldn't have 3 Fs.
Oh, that's
Right.
really nice.
Yeah, and then you can get on and see if they have mission
Well,
assignments.
the only reason
and-
you get Fs is because you don't do your homework.
Right,
Yes.
like that was what it was. Like you didn't
Yeah,
turn
they're
this
all
in. Or you didn't
missing.
do-
Yeah.
Gosh, that's so annoying. So they keep you busy.
Right.
Yeah. My wife, she's at Salamone. She's a reading interventionist. So she just works with kids who need help reading. Absolutely loves it.
Okay, but she's been a teacher.
She's been a teacher for
all
like
of this
6-7 years. Yeah.
for a long time. Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah. Sings on the worship team. Yeah.
Multifaceted,
She is.
just like her husband.
She's one of
Yeah.
those like annoying people that can do everything really well. Like Josh
hear that,
Harrison
Heather?
can pick up like any kind of instrument and play it, you know?
Yeah.
Like those people are just annoying. And it's like,
Did she can
because you
pick
know,
up any
'cause you-
instrument?
well, I mean, she can just everything that she does is just really.
That's
good.
not the way it is for you.
No,
Huh?
man, no.
Some
Dude,
people
you
have it
haven't played
easier.
the guitar
Did you
in how
hear me
long?
play last week? 2 weeks ago, it was rough.
All I heard is myself screaming.
Yeah, Scott muted me.
Really?
No, I don't. He maybe I didn't.
You don't know, but it could have possibly
I didn't notice
happened.
that it was bad.
I look like I was having fun though, so
you
that's
did.
all that
That's all that
mattered.
matters.
Yeah.
Game face.
Yeah.
Works.
Oh,
every
yeah.
time.
But you just picked it up and played. I mean, you haven't played on the worship
It's been
team
on
forever.
for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he
that was-
can sing. Have you ever heard him sing?
I have.
Yeah.
I saw him sing one time during COVID.
Oh.
Right, you and
that's
Heather
right,
and
yeah.
Emma all
That's right.
sang.
Oh yeah.
So sweet.
Those
Yeah.
were fun times.
COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
the
fun
best.
time.
Well, just doing those different interacting things. Yeah. Not the COVID part. That was brutal.
Okay, how long have you been at Life Church? So kind of describe
So
your journey at Life Church.
So I started coming to Life Church about 7 years ago, I think. Yeah, and just came just to, just kind of be a part of a church and not really work, like be involved with a church. And, after a while, it was, a month or so, a few months of being here, I'm like, I felt kind of guilty for not using the talents that God gave me to do what I needed, what he's asked me to do, as I'm just kind of just sitting here, just being selfishly, just being a part of the congregation instead of doing something. So met with Nichelle. She's like, yeah, we would love to have somebody, in this, tech area. And so started, working with her and joining the audio team and working with ProPresenter and all of that stuff. And, a few years later, I get an email from you saying, hey, you want to meet? And I'm like, oh, crap. What I do? Because
every
Now
time I
it's
send an email to
serious.
somebody,
Well,
it's like the
Yep.
same story.
Yeah.
we
Holy
had met
crap.
maybe once before.
I know.
Like
Intimidating.
Nichelle and I always had a relationship of working together and trying to figure out all that, how things work and how to get better and dreaming and all of that. And we just never really talked. And so you sent me that email. I'm like, man, I messed up somehow.
You were
So
afraid he was going to take you to the
sits
train
down.
station.
He sits down. And, yeah, I thought I was heading to the
Yeah,
train
he thought he was a
station.
goner.
Do I have that person? Do I have this intimidating
Yes.
personality?
No, it's just
I think
no,
so.
it's just the boss. You never talk to the boss, and then he's like, "Hey, we should meet."
Yeah, the boss is
So we
scary.
met, and you offered me a position of like part-time tech and part-time small group.
Yeah,
and
which is funny.
we're like,
if
we'll
you
see
think of
how
it
this
now.
works
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
and which was crazy. So finally, I think it was in June of 2017.
Oh, wow.
I think May or June started here, and
Was there a ton of people? How many people were on the tech team and all that?
well,
audio.
at that point we only had an audio team and then like a pro presenter team, and so we had I think 3 audio guys, myself included, and then 3 or 4 like pro presenter people, and those were the only spots that we really had.
Because
so
we weren't.
Well, I
really
mean, so
using it.
2 things I think are important for people to understand about Nick's story. So one was part of this process. So even though I'm not meeting with Nick, I'm meeting with Nichelle. So
Right.
Michelle's talking to me about Nick's journey, where he's at, what God's doing in his life. And again, this happens with 90%, maybe 100% of the people who have ever been hired here. It's always been like, people are telling me about like, this is their journey. This is what God's doing. And we just kind of look around and say like, God's doing something special in their life. Is there anything they can do? Because I just want an entry into, and I think every person probably that's here is not doing the same job they did when they started,
Yeah.
So it was like God's doing something in Nick. Let's look around. So we don't have anybody doing small groups, and we have somebody, the tech part of it, so the tech part made sense. The small group was a stretch because Nick's an introvert and hates people.
that
Yeah.
was a stretch. Yes.
Not hates people.
I was about to say, he does not hate people. Be
Nick
nice.
is an introvert and would rather
Through
not
and
talk
through.
to people.
Which
Yes.
shocked me. I had no idea that he was an introvert.
Oh man.
Right. So it was a stretch, but the point just was, let's get it in, let's get started, and let's evolve it through. Let's try to figure out, which is what we try to do with everybody.
Right.
Who are they? How is God working in their life? And honestly, let's just figure out what that's like. And he came and essentially took over when we were at a place where, like, we were where we started, meaning we had live worship and we, we're trying to put together good audio, good tech, and some lighting, and so he came in this early stage of, and even though it wasn't early in the church, we were at the same place then as we were when we started, meaning
Oh, wow.
sound team, music,
Yeah.
and a few lights, and we were just trying to figure out how to do that well. So that's
Right.
where we were in the beginning. So from that, I mean, if you look at where we are today, you know, and how we got there, I think that's an integral part of thinking through Nick's journey and working with his team and processing kind of where we wanted to go. And, you know, so I think that's a cool part for people to understand, because some people that just come thinks we've been like this forever. Right?
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we were nowhere.
Well, even 2 years ago, mind you, we were still upstairs.
Yeah.
Right.
In 2020.
Right.
2 years ago seems wild.
Well, and the point just was is that we were at a place where, and we'll get into this and you can talk about it, because I think this is a cool part of like how your journey worked, because we were at a place where we said, we had been evaluating a couple things. We think that we needed to have space on people's phones because we think that was going to be the future, right? So we're like, we better get an app. We better figure out what that looks like. And we were at a place where we're saying the next generation of people are probably going to watch before they come, right? So we were in this whole process of like, hey, Nick, go out there and try to figure out online church. So this was before COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, we were looking
That's
at
so
online
interesting.
church before COVID ever happened. Nick was in, because I had said, and no offense to anybody that does this, but I could not stand getting on Facebook and watching this one camera of people's church services that sounded like absolute garbage, and they were all excited about it. Wow, heart this, and all these stupid hearts floating around, and I'm like, I wouldn't heart any of this. I'd put a pile of crap on it because
Oh my
it's
gosh.
annoying. Like, it's just, you can't hear them. The music sounds like crap. It's not an experience. It's just like saying, wow, look at us. We're on Facebook. And I'm like, Nick, please don't make me ever do that. Right? I mean, that's, again, in the beginning, I'm like, I don't want a viewing experience. I want an online church.
Right.
Right. And so Nick started to take that whole process on. And this is the evolution. So we're just like, Nick, forget small groups. Like, it ain't going to work. We'll get
So
some.
that's not going to work out.
How long did you have them for?
Maybe a few months.
Okay.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. It was,
Oh.
yeah.
It was early on.
quickly.
We were like, okay, that ain't
Was it
gonna
even
work.
in small group season?
We had small groups meeting and things
Yeah.
were happening.
Oh, really?
And I think at the time is when Paul came on.
Yeah.
You know, so
Paul took over
Paul
for me.
Atkins, you know, was like, hey, he came to me and said, I feel like God's calling me into ministry, so I want to quit my job. And I'm like, don't quit your job, dude. Like, how about part-time? So he's like, small groups, relationships. And then a lot of it, too, was a lot of times people want to come on staff because they see my deficiencies and like, you're terrible at taking care of people. So how about I come on and
Oh
take
my
care of people?
gosh.
No, it really is. Like, I'm not a real caretaker type of a guy. Like, I love people and I love spending time with people, but I'm not a like hold your hand, sit beside your couch, have coffee with you all day person. So Paul came on and like, I could do that. Like, that's my gifting. And I'm like, it's perfect. And you can take over small groups and we can kind of release Nick into doing stuff that, you know, he hasn't been doing, you know, in the past. And let's start developing something. So he had been working on online church or online community before COVID ever hit.
Yeah.
How long before?
Well, we bought a video camera. The first camera we bought was probably 2 years before COVID, 2 or 3
Okay.
years. And so we were recording every service, not putting it out live. And we wanted to be able to say, you know, one thing we talked about is like, if we really want to make it to where you watch before you come to church, we better be able to bring a good product like what we do on Sunday morning. If we can't recreate it online, then nobody's going to want to come in in-house to see it. And so, yeah, it took a long time of figuring out what does that look like? How does that work? What do we need?
Yeah, because we had
Who do
many
we need?
conversations about like, if you watch that, would you go to that church?
Right.
I'm like, I'd never go. That's terrible. Like that right there. If you were going to try to draw me in by what that thing was on Facebook.
If this is your front porch, I'm not walking
you
in
just
that door.
drove me out.
But what if it was a really good like pastor and you really liked everything they were saying?
No, again, it's just a personality thing because when I look at that kind of stuff, I'm thinking like you didn't think through anything.
That immediately turns you off, like even from the words.
Yeah, just because it's my thought is like, listen, if you think that that's that valuable, then get your crap together. It's out there. Like, I guess it goes back to this. I've always said, like, you know what drives me nuts about the church is culture's always ahead of us. Why? We have a better message than culture.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like, why in the world would we not be leading culture? So why is it that everything the church puts out subpar? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
their video's subpar, their sound's subpar, their teaching, their environment, their building. Like, why is culture so far ahead when we have way better message? And all they're trying to sell is peanuts. You know what I mean? I'm just
Is
saying.
that your first thing that came to your mind?
Yeah, I was just sitting there.
I love that.
I watched this thing on Ag
Yes,
Day
you
about
remember.
harvesting peanuts and making it into
Exactly.
peanut butter.
Have you ever played that game where you just like randomly say what comes to your mind, like the first thing, like you have to like say?
Okay, wait. Okay, say it. What's the first
Well,
thing in
I
your
would
mind?
have to
No,
give you
go.
a description.
No,
like,
go.
No, like
Go.
a type.
No,
like,
go. Like
dog.
something.
And then you'd have to say whatever comes to your mind.
It's drowning.
That is so funny. That I've
Yes.
heard many people say, like, I don't know if that was their first time coming or something, but it was that like kept them like just that. I don't know. It meant something to them.
Anyway,
Like a good thing. Like
so-
I guess it was maybe that you were real. Like you say things
When they came in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's different. It's way different. You should know that. You do social media. It's way
Oh,
different
yeah.
online than it is in person. Like if you're in person and the band is crappy, you're going to sit through 15 minutes of crappy music
Oh,
to
yeah.
listen to the pastor.
yeah.
Online, if the music's crappy, you're gone. You're not even going to get to the pastor.
Well, and again, it was for
Oh,
me.
yeah.
It was this whole like, I just don't get it. Why would we not strive? We have a message that will change the world.
Yeah.
Like this message is
Yeah.
going to change the world. So why is that? Do you think that gets the message out? We're talking to people because when you're looking at the unchurched or the people that we want to see this, because we're not trying to. Like I could care less about the person who's been in church for 20 years because they'll put up with garbage.
Right.
I'm talking about the person who doesn't know Jesus or is investigating Jesus, is going to the movie theater, is watching TV, is a part of something that people cared about. And then they go on, they're like, oh, the church, they could care less about their message. Like, how excited are they about Jesus? Yeah, one little still camera that's 30 feet away from the stage and I can't understand and the worship team sucks and the
Yeah.
you know the presentation sucks and you can't hardly see anything. I'm like, wow, I'm glad you care about
And
Jesus.
pews with the Bibles on the back. And
My
pens.
point just is so
sometimes.
I mean, again, I feel bad for Nick because I mean, I just flat out told him I don't want that.
Right.
I don't want that. I don't care how long it takes us. I don't want that. And so you need to figure out how we can't be that because that will drive me crazy.
Yeah, and you were learning at the time too, right?
Oh, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I'm
daily.
just throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks daily. Oh, absolutely.
But what's cool is Scott, who's one of our producers today, was somebody that you partnered with and who had
Oh, yeah.
experience in
Oh, that's
production.
awesome.
Yeah.
And so, Nick, again, back to what we've always said, if you don't know, well, this is true.
He's
right?
rolling his eyes.
Scott's my guy. I'm the
No, my
introvert.
point
Scott's my
is-
guy.
No, I'm saying this because it's really true. Like,
know it, yeah.
Here's the, and again, I highlight this not to just point it out like Scott's awesome. The point just is that here's what we challenge everybody at Life Church to do. I believe the visions that God gives me is way beyond anything that we've ever done. So it means you have to surround yourself with people to be able to make it happen because the biggest dilemma for most people that start working at Life Church is they sit in a meeting with me and I throw out all these things and they're like, and I'm just flat out saying like, that's the way that I want it to be. So don't let you be the barrier. So go out there and try to find people that can help you get it done. So the challenge is find the Scott Streets, find the people that find the, Huntington University, people, find people who are doing it and let's work together on being able to get it done. And so initially, it's kind of, I'm going to really build this up because initially this was a huge challenge because I kept being like, nope,
Yeah.
like, terrible. We got to get good. We got to get better. We got to work. Well, it's going to take money. Well, we don't have any money.
Right. Oh, yeah.
That was the other thing. Can you make it really good with no money?
Yeah. Nope.
Right. But that was my point.
Yeah.
So, because again, I say this is something that Nick had to work through. It's like, keep dreaming.
Yeah.
This is a lesson for all of us. Just because you can't have it right away doesn't mean that you don't prepare and dream for the time that God releases something. You know what I mean? Because that's where we were. It's like a lot of people get stuck because they're mad that it doesn't happen right away.
Yeah,
like,
that-
I put in all the time and I did all the dreaming and we have everything prepared and the leader won't pull the trigger. And I'm just like, stay vigilant. God's getting ready to do something. And when he's ready, we need to be prepared.
Yeah.
Which is what happened because COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then I've got a real burr up my butt because when
Why?
COVID, I got
What
a burr
happened?
up my butt.
What happened?
So when COVID hit, the whole
Yes.
thing was like, you can't meet because if you touch somebody, you're going to bleed out your
my-
nose and your ears and die on the street.
Isn't that crazy? We all believed it.
Well, no, here was the thing is I didn't even know there was a thing. And we got into a staff meeting and there are other people on staff who are way more up on things that I could care less about, you know? And so they came into the meeting and like, wow, did you know something like COVID and what's going to be our reaction? I'm like, what the heck's COVID? And essentially they described it as Ebola.
I was in that meeting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were in that
Not
meeting.
that
Yes, it was
No,
March.
no.
this
This
one
was
was
This was
earlier.
St. Patrick's Day.
And
Okay.
I think people described it like if you touch
Ebola?
somebody,
Ebola?
you're gonna bleed out your nose and your ears, and you're gonna fall over dead on the street. And I'm like, wow, I don't watch the news. I guess I'm gonna trust you. So we shut down at some point, right? So at some point we shut down, and then we went to this like we got to do our diligence and tape things and go through things. And I'm like, oh, you know, and I mean whatever. But then finally, when it came to this like. There's a chance to open up, and the only way we're going to get it done is have more space. I'm like, hey, Nick, so in the course of however many months or 1 month or however long,
Oh, it was,
I need
Yeah, it
maybe
was
6
not-
weeks.
Yeah.
I need you to equip Champs Academy, get a stage built, get camera, get this ready to go. So
During
that we can put,
COVID, when
Yeah, no.
there's like
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
available.
No, right. So I'm
Yeah.
like, you need to get it done because I'm going to open back
And
up.
that was a 3-year prayer.
No, I
Like, we
know.
have been praying that for a
Wow.
long time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had, when we started in, I was here right when we started going into 2 services. Then we went to 3 services, and we're like, okay, we still need some room. Let's pray about moving down to Champs. And we prayed, we got quotes. And I mean, it was
Wow.
3 years of us just,
Yeah, keep
you know,
bringing
waiting.
me quotes.
Yeah.
Quotes. We don't have the money. We don't have. And again, it was fun.
Yeah.
Like it was just this, the thing I was
Yeah.
saying is like Nick was very vigilant with his teams of saying, okay, I put it in front of him. He said no again. Put it
Yeah.
in front of him. Said no again. And you guys were prepared though. I mean, kudos to what you're doing because then I said. We're opening up.
oh yeah, and we're going downstairs.
And
That's
we're going
insane.
downstairs, and we need a stage, and
6
we're going to go
weeks.
online, and all that stuff that was crappy that we couldn't get done, it needs to get
Oh,
done.
yeah.
So
That's
we
a
need to
God
be
thing.
professional. We need to get it right. We need to get sound. We need to. So how much is it going to cost? Whatever it's going to cost, let's go get it done. We got the money.
Yep.
And we went out there. And again, it's so funny because now people walk into Champs and be like, wow, you
Yeah.
guys have been like this forever.
Nope.
And it has been a big switch.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so in this, so I want you to talk about this because I think this is an important part of your journey and honestly where Life Church is now. So we said in the beginning, FaceTime with people, right? So they can watch it online.
Yep.
And the hope just was, oh, they'll come to church someday, but they'll view it beforehand, right? And so we're thinking inside of Huntington or maybe a little bit of outside of Huntington, people are going to watch it. It's going to be good quality. We're going to actually have an online like it's actually online. It's not just Facebook. Like you have a campus pastor that's talking to you. Like it's professional. Like this isn't crap, and we're going to do it. And our idea is you get a view of it and then you're going to come. Like, so that's how it started. What it's evolved into is so much different than what it is today. So talk a little bit about where our vision was, where you think our vision is going with this whole online presence, because really you and your team are kind of this mastermind behind what the effects have happened and how, because I don't think people really get this. Lots of people walk into Life Church right now and they're like super excited because it's like growing and God's moving and God's presence. And they're looking at all this. They have no idea what God's doing through online communities. So talk a little bit about the shifts and what's happening and even how, not only how online communities grown, how the podcast has grown and where we're like, how we're seeing content created by your teams
Yeah.
is influencing not just a small community of people. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, like I said, just like you said, when we talked about bringing, our Sunday morning online, it was just a front door. We had talked about it was just going to be a front door where you'd never been to church before, you wanted to check it out before you actually drove over to the building. You would check it out. If you liked it, then you would come into the building, and then that would be it. Or for people that come to church regularly, let's say they go on vacation or they can't make it, they can, they can come in and just watch and still be a part. And the more that we started getting up to where we actually did online, it started to become more of like this should be a church plant. Like, this shouldn't be just a way for you to come into the physical building of Life Church. Like, this should be where, you know, people develop relationships and can see Jesus just the way they can in-house. And so we created a campus pastor position to where we have they're like hosts, but with more responsibilities to engage with people and meet new people and pray with people online. Right. And they're there every Sunday. You know, we didn't even, when we first started online, we weren't even on Facebook. We just went to, the church online platform. So you had to be intentional with getting there. Like, you just didn't, it's like you didn't just drive by Life Church and just decide to pop in. Like, you knew you were coming to church on Sunday morning. Right. I wanted it to be the same way online. Like, you just don't scroll through Facebook and there it is. So you just sit and watch. Like, you're intentionally going there. And so we did that for quite a while of just people just coming in to, and, I think people are still a little weirded out about chatting during worship and during when the speaker's talking, and so we've still got a lot of work to do. But I mean, I love just watching all of the relationships that are already built with our campus pastors and with other people, and you see somebody pop into the chat, and you can just tell how other people are excited that they're there. I mean, like, it's a little church family, and we're looking at the analytics now, and we're all throughout the country. I had a friend who was a missionary in Peru, and she used to watch, weekly while she was down there before COVID brought her back. And, and now we're getting messages now of, people who are watching and feel like Life Church is their home states away. And so now, now we're looking at it like, hey, we're not just an online church where you're doing it online and then we expect you to come here. Right. Like, we're an online church where your church is online. So how do we connect with you outside of the Sunday morning? Like, how do we engage? How do we help you take your next steps towards Jesus? And so that's kind of like where we're at right now, is trying to figure out the things that we do here in house of, like, how do we, get you to attend and serve and give and be in community? How do we do that online? Like, what does that even look like?
Or how do we equip what I think's happening? Like, I think little house churches are popping up all over the United States.
Oh yeah.
Of people who, maybe it's just a logistical thing, like some people who watch in Wyoming or Colorado, that if you ever drive around out there and you are in a rural place, it is difficult to get to church, right? Like, they're just not down the road, and so I think there are some rural people that are like, we got internet, and so we're going to watch, and so we get the family together and we sit around and we watch, and we feel like Life Church is our home, right? And so how do we help equip them, give them leadership, give them accountability, help them pray with them, like whatever your prayer requests are, we want to be able to pray with you, because I honestly think that's some of the coolest thing that's happening, because it's not just like this is, hey, there's some people in Warren and some people in Wabash and some people in Fort Wayne. I mean, these are people in other states.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that are listening, right? I mean, I don't know all the analytics, but I know.
Well, we just had a conversation with Kim on Instagram. She mentioned, that, hey, she lives in New York. And she's been, attending online since September. Her daughter comes to HU. Right. So they came down. She found Life Church, loved it, had to go back home. Right. And so now she's an online member. And so, like, talking with, with Kim on there, she's just, hopefully I can say her name. Already did.
There's a lot of Kims.
There's a lot of Kims.
There's a lot of Kims, especially in New York.
Right.
Come on.
But.
So what are Kim's next steps? Like, how do we promote relationships and community from New York? Because I can't really expect her to come here for Grow Night, sure. Or for a small group. So how do we develop something to help her?
Right.
Online.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so if you're listening to the podcast, I mean, I think this is important, is that part of who we are is, like, we want to go where God is and how he's working. And so part of that happens because you tell us how he's working. Yeah. Right. So part of that feedback piece is just to say, this is how God's working and this is what we need from you. So if you're out there and you're a podcast listener and you're an online viewer of what we're doing, let us know your needs. Like, we don't know that we can meet them, but the point is, we're praying. We think that we think today that there is a movement of God that Life Church is a part of.
Yeah.
Like we think that God is doing some pretty incredible things. He's using us. So for today, we think that the vessel of Life Church is being used,
Yes.
you know, and we want to continue to be a part of that. But part of that is hearing from you, hearing your stories, giving us feedback so that we can then go out and you guys as a team who have the expertise of putting it together can say, oh, like these are some things that we can do, or these are some things that we're going to try, because the culture of Life Churches is the only way that we can fail at Life Church is never doing anything.
Right.
Right. So we create a culture of like, I have no idea, just try it. You know what I mean? I mean, I just do it. Like, we'll see. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. And that's what I love about being here is the evolution of things and the way that things happen. Like, we don't really hold on to anything. Like, it either worked or it didn't work. Nobody really cares.
Yeah.
You know, just because we had a vision in the beginning that this would be about bringing people in because they watch online, and just because it didn't turn into that, I don't want to be over here where God isn't. I want to say, oh, he's over there. Let's just go over there. Who really cares what I thought?
Right.
Learning.
You know, and I think that's neat because you guys, too, have embraced that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You guys have a team have embraced, like, because we do it with excellence, because we really think through these, and because you guys are dreaming of ways to be able to get it done, then we're able to put content out in a way that can change the lives of people.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so give us that feedback, help us understand what that looks like. And
Absolutely.
you know, and again, just maybe you can reiterate, like, here's what we're thinking about for the future. We're trying to figure out how to bring small groups.
I mean, you know, we always talk about in, you know, our staff meetings, like the way that we can measure like what we think is like a believer, like a third chair person is they give, they serve, they're in community, and they attend. I think we've got the attending part figured out. You know, I think we've got the giving part figured out. So how do we help them serve, and how do we help them like build community? So I think that's kind of like where my mind is right now is like, how do I create a space in New York or Colorado or Florida or overseas of how do I create a space where people can build relationships and build community, where they can reach other people in their communities instead of just coming here.
Right. Right. Yeah, so let's talk about, just real quick, because we're getting towards the end. So let's talk about a couple things. So one, we're in a new series. So we started this new series called Revelation, and we're going through the letters, so the chapter 1, then going through the 7 letters to the church. The emphasis of the series was this, like, we believe that the presence of God is the only thing that can change broken things, right? So we've talked about worship, teaching, online community, lots of platforms. Like, we're trying to build platforms. That's what we're doing. We're out there saying, we're going to do platforms, and we're going to do them excellent, and we're going to do them the best of our ability, because we believe if we can create platforms, then God can work. And if we're obedient, God can work. And if we go where he is, God can work. And so we believe that the presence of God changes the lives of people. And so what I want us to think through, or as we go through this series, I want you to talk about ways, because I think this is important. We're creating content not just to create content, right? Like the idea of what we're doing on a Sunday morning. So I specifically want to just focus on this. So we create content on a Sunday morning, and if you're here, you get this content, and or if you've watched online, you've received the content. But we believe that this content can spur things on in the lives of other people, right? So how does a person, so if you're out there and you're saying, you know what, right now, because this is what we're trying to do, is you're trying to expand influence, right? So content that we believe is honoring God, how do we expand our influence? So in church, we say, bring somebody to church and they can experience it. But it's different online.
Right.
So if you're a person that's into social media, right? So if you're a person that's on Instagram, if you're a person that's on Facebook, and you and Jenny can specifically talk to this because this is both of your areas, right? As Jenny's in charge of our social media marketing, Nick's in charge of all our content creation and making sure that we're done with excellence. If I'm a person out there and I'm saying, you know, right now, you know, Mike makes me feel guilty every time he says you should be bringing somebody to church and I don't bring anybody, right? You know, like I don't feel like I'm doing my part. Yeah. But you have an online presence, which a lot of people do. Like you have friends and whatever all of the things are that you do.
Friends, followers. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is on each one of those platforms. And so there are ways for you to take what Jenny and Nick have put out there. Remembering that Jenny and Nick are working hard to create content that goes out during the week, not just for you, but for you to share.
Exactly.
Right. So let's talk about how can a person that wants to expand their influence via what you guys are experts in, like the things that we're trying to do, how would you recommend to them to be able to take what's happening on a Sunday morning and when we create the content, how do they make that influence grow through the social media market or through YouTube or whatever avenues we use? Because honestly, I have no idea.
Well,
what they are,
definitely
but-
sharing,
Okay.
or tagging your friend and something.
We'll talk about that because let's just be honest. Like the people that know nothing, so don't just
Okay.
say tag them because you're
I just
talking like,
assume
did
that
you just
everyone
speak
knows.
Chinese? Because I'm like, tag
that
who?
really what it seems
It's like
like? Okay.
elephant tag,
Okay,
like
well-
he was talking about. Is I put on my goggles and go out and play or gorilla
Oh, yeah,
tag.
Gorilla
gorilla.
tag.
No,
Where'd
I'm
the
like
elephant
really
come
serious.
from?
There are some people on here
Okay.
that would have zero
Okay.
idea of anything that you're talking about. So please put it in
Okay, so
farmer terms.
If Life Church is putting out a post and it's welcome or inviting somebody to church, then the person, if they see that, they could go ahead and share it on their page. So all of their friends would have they might be able to see it.
But let's just talk again. Let's talk about vision behind it because it's not just about like inviting people to church. Because here's what Nick said, and I want to make sure that we hit on this. We believe that it's not even so much inviting them to church. We think that the content that's created, the things that you guys work on, right, that you put out there, whether they come to church or not, could change the life of a person.
Yes.
Right. And so let's just say we pick a video, a clip from the Sunday morning, a
Okay.
clip from the worship, a story, like Jenny has been putting together stories. We believe that content, because of the
Right.
presence of God,
Yes.
could change the life of a person,
Yes.
even if they've never walked into the door
Yes,
of a church.
absolutely.
So what should a person do when they read the story? Because I think sometimes people read the story and they're like, wow, cool. They got the content. But
Yeah.
if we want to have exponential influence on people, how should people interact with social media in a way to have that exponential impact on other people? So using stories, using clips, using videos. So I know that you started to talk about it and I interrupted you, but
Yeah.
let's keep talking about
So
it.
like the person, like individually.
Yeah,
like,
let's just
that
say
the person watching.
Scott's reading this cool story
Okay.
that you have.
Yeah.
And you're telling Scott, you know what, Scott, you should have influence on people.
Okay.
Right. And so you're trying to figure through influence. You don't know what that really looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to give him a way to have influence on social media with
Oh.
the content that you create. What do you tell him to do? What do you tell Trevor to do?
So, I mean, if they're reading something and they think it has value for them and could help people, then they're going to share it and put it on their page.
Okay.
And
that's a simple thing to do?
yes,
just a button.
Yep, it's just a button, and it
2
goes
clicks.
A button,
out,
like
it
just
goes,
at the button at the bottom of
like
the
it
story?
literally says share. And
yeah,
you just hit
on
share.
like on the post it says share. It's the bottom
Okay.
left, right.
'Kay.
Anyways, and then so by sharing it on their news feed, it's going to go on the news feed, and
'Kay.
then all of their friends have a chance to see it. And then I think, no, not all their friends, but if their friends share it, then all of that friends' friends see it.
Yeah, so the
And then
point
it
is,
just keeps
okay,
going
so
on.
if Scott shares it, it actually becomes a part of his.
His whole friend group.
Okay, so then his friends.
Yes.
So you're talking about taking it and growing it another
Right.
level.
Oh, yeah.
Now let me ask you about this, because again, I'm talking from the ignorance of a social media person. If somebody keeps commenting on something, does it go back up in the top of my feed? Do I see it more
Yes.
if people comment?
Yes. So the more like the post with the most engagement, so likes, shares, comments, Facebook especially. I think Instagram does this too. It's TikTok that doesn't. They use an algorithm that is if the post that is getting the most engagement is the one that they think the algorithm. Oh my gosh, I just said it. It thinks, oh my gosh, this is a really good post, so we need to put this out there.
Right. So the point just would be is that the reason to interact with some of these things
Yes, it's 'cause it
isn't
gets
just
seen.
so people can see your comments.
Right.
It will move things up in
Yes.
people's feeds so they can see it even more.
Yes.
Right. So teaching people that like if you want to have influence, there are ways in social media to be able to do that.
Right.
So maybe we even should put that out there. Like, here's a recommendation. If this is
Okay.
how I don't know. Maybe everybody knows
Yeah, because
these things.
no, they do not. They do not because
Because I don't know anything.
no, a lot of people that use social media don't know that. Because
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know, but because this is where we believe Nick's sweet spot is, right? And we believe you and Nick and the team of people are working together to say we're going to have a influence in a virtual world that we think can change the lives of people. And so we're just saying to the people like me who have no understanding of the virtual world, or we're just saying to other people who are saying, like, there is a world outside of what you think. Don't forget it. Right, Nick? I mean, you've preached that to me forever. Like, don't forget this world. Don't forget this world. Because I'm like, I'm not living in that world.
Right.
Right. And how much influence that we can have in those places. So that's social media. Talk about our YouTube channel. How do people get there? This is a thing, right? We have a
YouTube's a thing. We have a YouTube
You go
channel.
on the World Wide Web.
Huh?
You
Shut
know?
up.
What? You told me to go on really.
No, I know. But
No, like, so how can you engage on our YouTube channel?
How does somebody
You
even
unlock
find
your
our
phone.
YouTube? How do people find our YouTube? Like, do we give them links? Because talk about what's on our YouTube. Right?
So most of the video content that we create is on the YouTube.
Okay.
So, like the podcast, all of our Sunday morning sermons, we actually put the whole service on YouTube.
Okay.
So on our app, we only put the message in the last song, but YouTube has the whole service.
So people can watch the whole service on YouTube, but not on our app.
Correct. Yeah.
I know that.
Space, probably.
Space, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And time. I think a lot of people on the app just want to listen to the message and get to that part of, and
Got it.
we can go into that later.
Yeah.
No.
We put all of the baptism videos. So, I mean, those super cool stories of how people, where they were and where they were and where they are now.
Right.
I mean, you can follow along. And any of those, they're open to the public. And so you can actually share them to your Facebook page. You can copy the link and send them somebody. So if you're in a relationship with somebody and you listen to, say, one of those baptism stories and you're like, that story sounds quite familiar, Like, I know a friend who's just in that same situation, but maybe hasn't making that step to meet Jesus. Like, you can copy that link and send them to them through a text or through an email or through...
What about out on their social media?
Or they can post it on their own social media. Yeah.
Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. Like, nobody... Who knows these things?
If you use...
Because, I mean, you just think about this.
Yes.
Think about if you truly want to have an impact, and let's just say your circle, you've invited people, they haven't been coming, you don't know what the next thing to do is. I guarantee you there are some cool stories on our YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
The stories of some life change and things that are happening, if you share them and then your feed sees those types of things, like, I just can't imagine that you can't look at that as a way and say, that's a part of the Great Commission.
Oh, I
You know what
totally
I'm saying?
believe it's part of the Great Commission.
But that's my point. Sometimes we think we get caught up in this, like, they preached about the Great Commission, and the Great Commission is you need to invite people to church, and they need to come to church, and they need to do, and it's the only way you can ever accomplish it. And you're sitting there thinking, God, my gosh, nobody comes, and every time I invite, and it never works. Well, what's the alternative? So can we be a part of the Great Commission by sharing some of these stories? I'm speaking for myself.
Honestly,
there ain't no way in God's green earth that people know how to do that.
I think more than...
Or that even understand how to do it.
I think more than inviting them to church, that could have a bigger influence, because not only, like, instead of one person you're inviting to church, it's a ton of people.
No, I'm saying forget inviting them to church.
You're saying forget it?
No, I'm saying
Don't do it
don't just
anymore.
use the emphasis of saying they have to come to church. I'm saying part of the Great Commission is giving people the things that will change their life.
Yeah.
Right? So we're just saying, we would all agree on this. There are some stories, a lot of those stories on there that if you really listen to them, it could really relate to a lot of people that could change their life. Like, just absolutely change their life. And so why wouldn't we, or why wouldn't the church of 500-600 people understand, go on to our YouTube, figure out how to do whatever the heck Nick just said you're supposed to do, share it into places that can go on there, and you think about these stories starting to be shared and how many people could actually benefit from that. It's a form of evangelism, or it's a form of reaching out that I don't know that people really think about. But because we've created this, because you guys have went down these roads, because you've been working behind the scenes to make this happen, why aren't we using it? You know what I mean? I'm saying as a church, why aren't we understanding how to be able to use those things as cool evangelism opportunities? Right? So if you want a tutorial on how to get those things done,
Yes.
We'll make a post.
Everybody
Make a
knows
post.
Jenny, and now you know Nick.
Yes.
So look them up. ask him the questions. And I'm serious. Maybe it should be something you guys think
know.
about or dream about. Maybe you should put it out there to
I already
say,
wrote
yeah,
it
let's
down.
teach you guys how to do some of these things. Or
Yeah.
maybe we should.
How-to segment with Jenny.
Boom.
Yeah, boom. Okay. Well, I just want to say, Nick, and I've said this to you 1,000 times. Like, I'm really proud of you because you stuck it out.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that I always get excited when talking about Nick is he's put up with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I just tell people, way too many have quit way too early to see the true benefits of God's fruit of happening. And Nick has put up with it, and he's seeing now, you look at all of this work that went into, you have to be proud. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to be proud of you and your team and the people that are going down these roads because, again, lives are changed because for years you prayed about it. For years you put the time in. For years you guys stuck it out. For years you waited for the moment, right? And then God opened up the door. Now that he opened up the door, look what he's doing. So I just want to say I'm proud of you. People don't see Nick and people don't see Nick's team, but, I don't know that people will understand, and maybe this is what we should be better at, is just understanding the influence that's happening right now through the virtual world that Life Church is doing and how much it's changing the lives of people and the impact that it's having. So, again, thank you. I'm proud of you. Good job. Keep fighting. Great for your team to be able to do those. Because that's I don't even know how to explain this to people because people that are coming on Sunday morning excited, if they knew the whole other aspect of it all, I think people would be jacked. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm serious. If people knew the whole scope of what was happening, you just have to look at it back to this Revelation series. You just have to say there is a movement of God happening.
Right.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Then we need to make that known.
No, I know. That's for you guys. Yeah. I don't know how to do anything. So I can do podcasts and preach, and the rest of it's up to everybody else. So, all right. So we're going to end it with this. So one of the awesome things, we've been praying about this forever. Give us feedback. Give us questions. We want to have a segment where we can answer some of them. So we're going to.
We finally have some.
No, I know. So
I'm
last
so
week
excited.
I was like, what in the world? Somebody asked us a question?
Yeah.
So we got a question last week. It came through our
YouTube.
Yeah. So we're going to do the best we can to answer these questions.
Oh, no. She wants you to answer them.
No, I know. So I have opinions.
You're on the hot spot.
I have opinions.
Listen, I have tons of opinions, and, so I'll give you all of mine. Okay, so questions. These came from YouTube, and this is from who?
Kathy.
Kathy.
Cool Times.
Cool
Kathy
Times?
Cool Times.
Cool
yeah.
There we go,
Times.
Kathy.
That's
Cool
her.
Times.
That's her YouTube.
Oh,
name,
okay. So it's probably.
You have that's a thing.
You can make
Like a
whatever
username.
What's yours? T Money? Is it T Money on YouTube?
T-Money.
What?
T
$T
signs.
Yeah.
That's Trevor's.
Wow.
That's Trevor's.
Scott, or do you have a little call name? See, it makes me think back to the CB days. Like when you had CBs and everybody had it. Like I was Batman.
What?
Okay.
Yeah, my brother was Superman. My mom was Candyman. My dad was Redman. And the reason is because he's a farmer and he had this red neck, all the time. So
What is a CB? A walkie-talkie? What? Is it a walkie-talkie?
Kinda like a walkie-talkie.
Okay, all right.
kind of,
I used to
but it
find
was in
those.
your farm vehicles, and so you could actually do it from your house. Like you had a
okay.
base station in your
that's
house,
cool.
and if people are out there before cell phones and they're out there in the tractor, you're like,
They were
"Hey,
the
what's up,
first.
Red Man? Come back."
My gosh.
Haven't you ever watched the Dukes of Hazzard?
No.
Oh.
Everybody sighs.
Anyway, so here's one of her questions. She has three.
Two. I see two.
Two questions.
Yeah, I
Okay,
see
two
two.
questions.
Yeah, here's the first one. It says, I have a question for Mike. Do you believe that we go to heaven as soon as we die if we're saved, or do you think it's not until Jesus comes back?
Okay, so I will give you, again, I'm going to give you an opinion, and I'm going to give you where I think you can support it both ways.
Right.
So
Okay.
my opinion is that the day that you die, you stand in front of the judgment seat of Christ. 2 Corinthians 5:10 says, the day that we die, we stand in front of the Bema seat of Christ, and at the Bema seat of Christ, we're ushered into heaven. We're able to experience heaven. I believe that we go to heaven right away because if you look in Revelations, it talks about people who were martyred and they were under a table, but they were looking down and they could see what was going on inside of the world. So it makes me believe that there's actual, in the story, it's saying I saw these people who were martyred. They were in heaven. They were looking down upon the earth. And so I do think that there are places in Scripture that will show the rich man and Lazarus. So it talks about right away that the Lazarus went to the bosom, to the Abraham's bosom, heaven. If you look at the thief on the cross, it says, today you will be with me in paradise. So I think that there are lots of scriptural references that you'll go there. But the one scriptural reference that everybody comes back to of saying it doesn't is like when Jesus Christ comes back, the dead in Christ will rise and they'll meet in the air with those who, had gone before. But I think there's enough of a scriptural reference to say the majority of scripture would say that the day that you die, your soul or your heavenly body is ushered into eternity, whether it's heaven or hell, and that you will experience those things right away. So I do believe that people are ushered into, and I'll just give you, I shared this personal story, and part of it is personal. So my wife who died, and I don't think these things are by accident, I was like, I really miss her. This is somebody that I'd been with since I'd been 15 years old, and I would give anything to just hug her, so I had this vision, and she was hugging me, and I was like, crying in my dream. I was crying. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just looked at her and I'm like, oh honey, we all miss you. Do you miss us? And she's like, well, I've pretty much forgot this. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, forgot the kids,
Not me.
The world, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I get, and she's like, yeah, I mean, the glory of heaven's so great, I forgot. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't forget me, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, I mean, that I forgot. I am forgetting you too, because the glory of heaven is so great that, this world
that's amazing
is going away. And I'm like, at first I was devastated, but then to me it was just a gift from God.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if you live in this world where you always want your wife to come back, or you always want your loved one to come back, and you have this like, oh, she's missing out, and she doesn't want any of that.
Yeah.
Right.
She doesn't want to be a grandma anymore, even though she wanted to be.
Right.
Right. Times when she was dying, she said, I want to be a grandma. I want to see my kids have kids. I want all these things. And we live in that world. We're like, oh, I just wish. But that gift from her was to say, I don't want any of those things anymore. I'm standing in front of Jesus, so don't want me to be there either. Right. So don't want me to be back to be a grandma. Don't want me to be back to be a mom. Don't want me I'm standing where I was supposed to be in the glory of heaven. So it's part of its personal experience, too, that I think was a gift from God. So I believe that we are, and that we do stand in the presence of God. Yep.
Is that from Catholic, like the, kind of purgatory, where...
Purgatory?
Whatever.
No, it's okay.
What did I say? Purge?
It's either,
like that movie?
It's okay, yeah.
Purge.
You said purgatory, but...
That's a place, too.
No, it's not, but that's okay. Either way.
Yes, it is. It's a scary
movie. Is there a Catholic belief in purgatory?
Yeah, so isn't that kind of like the same thing, how they're like hanging out in a spot before?
Well, purgatory... That would be something we should probably get into at a later date, because it could take it forever. Well, just because it's a theological difference.
Okay.
In the Catholic faith, belief in purgatory based out of 2 Maccabees as a place to go of purification before you can ever enter into heaven, right? And so I think there's a long theological debate about why we as Christian people would not believe in a place called purgatory.
Okay, but what about the second verse that you were saying about the
Abraham's
dead
bosom
meeting? Yeah.
So I mean, in the rich man and Lazarus, it talks about Abraham's bosom, but again, if you look at commentaries, it's more like heaven today is not where you're going to reign forever, right? So people would refer to that as Abraham's bosom or heaven, because where you're going to reign forever is on a new earth. Right. So once it's all over in Revelation, the new earth was created, and this temporary place where you are now with God, you'll come from that, and then you'll reign on earth with Him forever. So it's just referred to at times as like Abraham bosom or heaven or paradise. Like it's talked about in different ways, but it's the same concept. It's a temporary place for your heavenly body, your soul, to go to until you reign on the new earth.
How can we all read one thing and get so confused? To make them like theories and,
Yeah, no, yeah. Because, again, I think sometimes because we're trying to overcomplicate things. You know what I mean? Like
I've had somebody tell me, for example, the thing about women preaching. And then they've said, well, that was in the Old Testament, so it doesn't matter. Like churches.
No, I know, but that was brought up last week, because Sherry's like, you didn't answer this question of what do you think of women preachers? And I just say, and we'll probably get plenty of feedback on this, because I'm just going to give you my quick version, is that all I have to say is this: forget Old Testament, New Testament, forget what Paul said, right? Let's just go back to the design. So the design of a man and the design of a woman, right? And so if we look at the design of a man and the design of a woman, we're designed differently, right?
Right.
It doesn't mean that either one of us don't have leadership qualities or leadership skills. And it doesn't even mean that we don't think that women coming up to preach on a Sunday morning isn't valuable. Like
Right.
we do it. Like
Right.
we've had women preach. We believe that it's very specific that a woman shouldn't lead a church.
It's like the home.
Yeah, that's my point. It's
Yeah.
like it talks about like elders and leaders
Yeah.
of the church is compared to a home. And so we look at it like it's the responsibility of a man to lead his home. Like that's what God says. And his where he's at in his spiritual walk is sometimes defined by where he's at home, right? And how he's leading his family at
Yeah.
home. And so it's nothing against women, and it doesn't mean that women don't have value, and it doesn't mean that there aren't women that are great preachers. We have women preach on Sunday morning, but we will never have again, where we are today
Right.
with the elders that are here today and the way that things are drawn up here, we will never have a woman lead pastor at Life Church because we just don't think it's the way that it was designed. Will we have women preach and do we have women
Right.
lead and
Well,
do we have women
yeah.
do great things around this church? Absolutely.
Yep.
They do incredible things all the time. So we're not demeaning women.
Right.
Or their leadership.
Right.
Or their ability to do things.
Yeah.
We just don't think that's a position that
Yeah.
God, in the way that he designed people and the way that he designed the church, that we should do. And I don't even know why that's an issue, because why does it even matter?
Well, I'm focusing in on how people can just say like it's the Old Testament. Why is that so easily just dismissed?
Well, because I
But
think
the-
it's the same reason why, again, I'm going to get in big trouble. I think it's the same reason why is it okay to have, homosexual pastors, in churches. So how did we get to that point? So how did denominations decide that we could have homosexual pastors? Like, how do
Yeah.
you get that way as a denomination? Here's how you get that way. You just discount what Scripture says. Right? I mean, how else do you get to it?
I know.
Like, how else do you get to
Yeah.
this place where you could say, if we're reading the same Bible,
But how could you? Like if we are reading the same
no,
Bible.
but again, gosh,
Like, that makes
this
me
is going to
mad.
be a way like we could go forever. It's
But
not gonna
no,
make
that,
sure
like, stuff
I'm
makes
just going to
me
get
so
no, I know,
mad.
but let's just make it real quick.
Okay.
Here's what I think has happened in the Christian world today, and we better be careful. And the letters that he writes to us in Revelations are warnings,
Yeah.
and so we better heed the warnings. Here's what happened, and here's what's happening today. People have taken what they believe to be true from all sectors, right, and molded them together for something that's comfortable for society and them. And so what they've done is they've collectively made their own form or view of what Christianity is that is completely opposite of what Scripture says, and have been okay with it because at the end of the day, they feel like the God of love wants us more comfortable than he does wants us to be convicted. And so churches have just flat out said, like, we believe this, the writing of this, and the writing of this, and the writing of this, and we're just going to take parts of Scripture that we like, and we're going to mold them all together, and we're going to do something that can reach the masses.
They're leading people to hell. That's
Well, but the point is look at it. Look at what it,
That's
again,
scary.
so if you want to hear some of this stuff, I'm just going to challenge you. Come over the next 7 weeks to Life Church. Listen to the letters. Don't listen to me. Just listen to the letters because it happened. Like this happened in the church of Ephesus. We're going to talk about it this week. Happened in the church of Ephesus. They were on fire. They were doing great things. 40 years later, they're going down the tubes, right? Like they're going in a direction that they shouldn't. And the reason being is they lost their first love, right? They lost their love for Jesus and what Jesus had called them to do for the sake of being comfortable, right? And it's happening in the church all the time.
it is.
And the reason that it goes down those roads. So I just encourage people, like, if you're out there, don't listen to me. Come and just listen to what Scripture has to say. And then let's just let it be what it is. Don't take my opinion. Let it be what it is. Come and read. Let the Holy Spirit work through you because if we're reading the same thing, I think we can work it out.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The other question. What was the other question?
Sorry.
Oh, again.
Yeah, we got
We're
off.
good. I know. We're at an hour and 22 minutes.
Sorry, guys.
Everybody's looking at their
Yeah.
watch.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, it's okay. Just good
Hey,
stuff.
it's not even 3:00
Huh?
yet.
This one says, I go to a Methodist church and we baptize as babies. Do you think that's wrong?
Yes. That's an easy one.
That's an easy.
And I'm going to say wrong. I just don't, again, do whatever you want, but just don't do this. Don't somehow believe that infant baptism is anything
The
other
saving
than
of it, yeah.
a fun time to buy your kid a dress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my daughter had a what do they call those dresses back then?
Yeah.
Dresses or something, like they're great big long white things.
Oh,
And
that's so cute, though.
my point is that it became a denominational thing that you do. And again, to make the short of it is that it started with Catholicism that would baptize as infants in case you died before the age of accountability, that you could still go to heaven. Right? So the whole idea is you have to be baptized to go to heaven.
Yeah,
And
but
so,
all babies go to heaven, don't they?
well, yeah, again, we're going to get way off on these. The point just is this just came to the place where this is where people just used it. So the covering for you just to make sure you're okay before you make this decision for Jesus, get your kids baptized, because if they're baptized,
Gotcha.
they're going to heaven.
Right.
So that was the view of denominations. Our view is what Scripture says. Baptism only happened through a personal decision that each person made. When they made a personal decision for Jesus, they were baptized. Right? And people
Right.
can, again, say, well, households were baptized and all this. But the majority of Scripture says you made a personal decision, make a personal proclamation, go out and again, get baptized,
Right.
and show that baptism into the lives of people. Okay, so we'll end it with this. That was all the questions, right?
That was all the
We love
questions.
your feedback.
Yes.
So here's how you can give us feedback. Does Trevor know how to do this?
Done.
It's okay.
Done.
If Trevor
I think I
doesn't know
have
how
it
to do this,
memorized.
do you have it memorized?
I think so.
Open up ProPresenter.
It's okay.
260-408-8383.
Yeah, so you can
you.
send us text
Was I right?
messages.
Look, you might be.
Or 420.
No, never mind. We'll put it out there on a link that you can give us feedback, or we'll put it out on the YouTube.
right.
But we want people ask us
Yes,
questions. We
yeah.
want to address those questions.
Yeah.
And again, we thank everybody for listening. Just remember, we're going to be putting this stuff out via Facebook, YouTube. Share it. Maybe we're going to have a how-to from Jenny coming
that'd be
up
so
on how
fun.
people can use it. But again, I can't say enough, Nick. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Proud of what you're doing. The content that you're creating is beneficial. It's changing the lives of people. We love that the teams of people. I just tell them, if you're not involved in a tech team and you're not involved in what's going on, I'm telling people, get involved, because you have no idea the movement that's happening.
Right.
And again, whether it's being a cameraman,
Yeah.
whether it's working up here in our tech
Scott
team,
would love to teach you guys everything he
we need
knows.
people. I'm just telling you, you have no idea. I think you're missing the point.
Yeah.
You sitting behind a camera, giving an opportunity could lead somebody to Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You just don't know. So don't look at these things and be like, oh, well, that's a cameraman. I mean, anybody can be a cameraman. No, that's not how we see it. Being a cameraman is giving a lens and a view into the hearts of people that could change the lives of people. We need you. See Nick, see these people, get involved, get with Scott, see, whatever it takes, we need you. We want you to be a part of it. What? Scott, are you laughing?
He's shaking his head.
He's
Listen,
shaking
I
his
need
head?
a social media
Scott's
team.
introverted like me.
So talk.
Yeah, and see, Jenny, we need people who can help us with
need
social media.
help.
The point just is God is moving in the virtual world.
Oh, absolutely.
Be a part
Yep.
of it. Be a part of it.
Yeah.
Just don't serve in the physical church. We need people to help us in the virtual world.
Yep.
So again, we thank you for joining us. And again, we look forward to always interacting with you, being a part of the round table. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
See ya.